And then to come from California to Kuwait, right? It's kind of bizarre.
Okay, so Friday market.
Friday market.
I want to hear the Friday market story. So this Californian girl
back
to Kuwait, start doing the henna thing, and you're eating on the floor now with your bare hands and stuff, and you go to Friday market.
Yes, in those days, Friday market was not what it is now.
It used to be.
It was out kind of in
now
a desert.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
But back then it was even worse.
It was just a lot of red pickup trucks, blasting their way across.
GMCs, I remember those.
Yeah, remember it. They were all red. And we would go to the Friday market, and it was.
Did you like it?
Well, it was such an adventure because I remember there were a lot of tribal women that had like tattoos on their chins, and
back then
and the niqab and burqa, yes. And that was unusual. It wasn't mainstream the way it is now, and so I went with my girlfriend. She's British, and she has like white blonde hair and big, huge blue eyes, and of course everyone was staring at us like we were the weird ones. And I remember going, Liz, go stand there. I want to take a picture. So I, take some pictures. It was just really such a new experience. All these animals, like it was like an animal, and I'd gone to 4-H clubs.
It's everything.
Everything.
That's what people love about Friday market. You can find
antiques, just bizarre things, carpets.
Animals.
Yeah, the animals were.
No, I'm just
kidding. No. Don't remember any children for sale.
All right. I remember this story that we've talked about, the evil eye.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Can you put like just...
I had no idea what the evil eye was. I didn't realize that I was being perceived of as having a very hot eye.
Really?
Yes, because Yes, I was always saying.
Are you?
No, of course not. I was always saying, "Oh, that's so cute," and "Oh, that's lovely," and "Oh, what a darling child," and my mother-in-law would be churning. And I remember the way I found out about it was actually really traumatic for me, because my mother-in-law was cooking for 8 kids. And she had made this giant pot of like malfouf, and she sat there all day rolling and packing it and cooking it, and it's
you eat that, right?
Yeah, it's delicious. And she made this literally this huge pot. I've never even seen a pot like that. Looks like some cartoon thing like a cannibal would have a person in. It was a giant. And I came in and went, "Oh wow, that's amazing!" And she went into orbit, and she freaked out and started screaming and yelling at me.
Oh my God.
And I was like petrified. I just stood there crying. I was like, what did I do? And my husband came in and started yelling at his mother, and everybody was like traumatized. And that's when I realized that you need to say mashallah.
Yes.
And I had no idea.
It's a big thing, yeah. I mean, especially back in the day.
I had no idea. And then I started seeing little Qurans all over the house, and little evil eyes, and I kept thinking, "Oh my God, they think I have an evil eye," because I didn't know.
I don't think they believe that you have an evil eye.
Oh, I think they did.
Because they want you to believe in saying mashallah, I think.
Because when my sister-in-law delivered, I said something like, "Oh, what a beautiful baby," and she just gave me that look, and then the next day the kid was down getting plunged in the ocean with Quran recitations, and came back, and it was like they were like hiding the kid from me.
Is it because you're like came down from a different place and you're not?
I think they expected that I knew what that was, and I think they expected me that because I didn't say mashallah, they thought it was intentional when I had no idea that it even existed.
Okay. Fast forward. We talked about when you just got in here, 1979, the war takes place between Iraq and Iran, and it was a chaos. Yes, we luckily didn't have anything here in Kuwait, but like still, it's around the corner.
Yeah, you could feel it.
10 years later, actually not 20 years later, right? Or 10 years. No, actually 10 years later, 1990, Saddam Hussein decides to go in Kuwait, and you were in Kuwait.
I was on vacation.
Oh, lucky you.
So, well, yes, lucky me is right. I had 2 children. I had gone on vacation that summer. I was in the Faculty of Medicine. We had a 70-day vacation for summer break. I'd gone back. I was due to return like August 4th. And, the invasion was the 2nd of August. And I remember calling my husband and saying, there's troops on the border and they're just talking about invading Kuwait. Why don't you come over here, No, he's always threatening us. It's just, business as usual.
Yeah, that's what we all believed.
We all believed it. And that time, my husband was at Kisser. We lived in Beni Algar, which is right where the attack was on the Kuwait towers. They tried breaking them down. And the tanks were on the Gulf Road. And I remember I had taken my children to Santa Barbara. We were staying in the faculty club, and we had gone bicycle riding, and it was really late at night, and I came back into the room where we stayed. It's like a faculty club. And I had brought my maid with me, thank God, from the States, and she came in and she goes, "Madam, they've invaded Kuwait." And I said, "What are you talking about?" And I looked on the television, and there's like this big star pulsing over Kuwait, and they're talking about the invasion. So I immediately tried to call my husband. I couldn't get a line through, because in those days, it was really hard to get a line through. Yeah. So I immediately got in the car, drove home, and that was it. I was a refugee. And I know that sounds, crazy, because I was staying with my parents, and thank God I had a place to stay, because a lot of my girlfriends didn't have places to stay, and their families had actually disowned them for marrying Kuwaitis. So they were not welcome back in their homes. So churches and different humanitarian things were actually taking care of these American women married to Kuwaitis with their children. And I started becoming active in Free Kuwait. So there was like a
I remember those days.
Free Kuwait campaign. Yes.
Yeah.
So I did a candlelight vigil at the federal building in Los Angeles in Westwood. I was on television and radio trying to let people know that protecting Kuwait was a worthy cause, because no one knew where Kuwait was.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Well, why are we going to go over there?" And it was interesting to me, because I remember going into like a Kinko's to do photocopying, and I said, "Oh, I'm sending this because of the invasion in Kuwait." What? Kuwait? Is that like over in Hawaii?
Yeah.
People
had no idea.
They still have no idea. Yeah. It's okay. But it was just a very surreal experience. And I didn't know what was happening in Kuwait. I found out my husband had been captured, and he'd been put in a prison in Kuwait.
Oh.
Yes, he was, and I tried to contact Amnesty International. I couldn't find out anything about him. We were lucky that he had a friend a Jordanian that would come back and forth from Jordan. And then through this network, he called me, and I would keep track of what was happening with my husband to hopefully get him out of prison.
How long did he stay in prison?
He was in prison for probably over 2 to 3 months.
Oh, God.
And they were starving them.
What about the kids?
My children were with me.
Oh, okay, all right.
They were starving the prisoners.
Okay.
They had shot and killed some of them.
Yeah.
And my husband said, "Look," in jail, he said, "Look," to the Iraqi guys who were, imprisoning them. You can't just starve us like this. Either kill us or let us go. This is inhumane.
But I believe that's a strategy they used to follow, just to manipulate and just get whatever they want out of it.
The soldiers themselves, I mean, the Iraqi soldiers were not taken care of either. I mean, they were hungry, and
I've seen them. I've been
They
here.
rounded them up and stuck them on a bus and threw them out into Kuwait, and it wasn't like they were professional soldiers.
I've seen all. I've been here. I've seen all of that. I went through all of that. And
It's terrible.
It was not a pleasant experience.
So he was tortured. He got released. He came back to Kuwait. I came back to the States, and then within 2 or 3 weeks, he signed up to go back and join with the Americans. So he was back in, we got him out, and then he went back.
He decided to go back.
And his family was really upset with me, and I'm like, I can't keep him from defending his country.
True.
I mean, that's what he feels like he has to do.
When did you fly back?
We flew back right after the very first planes that brought people back to Kuwait.
There you go.
So we flew over the fires and
You've
the
seen all
oil
of that.
clouds all
Yes.
over.
You've
Yeah,
seen that?
oh yeah, and
Yeah. Do you remember when you used to wipe your nose
Yes.
and all the black
yes,
used to come out? in
and
the
you washed the
tissue?
car, and it was with
It's all
everything was
black.
all black oil,
Yeah.
and yeah, I know, and the big tank burial ground in Mishrif, and
True.
all of the bombs. Remember, we had to go in and they had to clean the desert and people were walking on landmines, and they found all kinds. I mean, it's terrible.
My own personal theory of life. It's a huge school, and we all learn from it. I believe that obstacles are meant to be there in your life so you can learn better and do better.
True.
Do you believe that we as a nation, Kuwait, have learned to do better by ourselves from the invasion?
I think, unfortunately, what happened to Kuwait because of the invasion is everyone has a plan B. That people thought, you know what, I need to have an alternative because if this country falls apart or something goes wrong, I think corruption increased. I think people want to have like a house outside to run to.
I believe so.
and-
I know a lot of people who
Yeah.
started to own places outside the country.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with investing, but I
But it
think,
wasn't, that investment did not exist
Well-
before 1990. And even if it was there, the percentage was pretty low.
well, and Sadiq, so my husband, literally would have sacrificed himself for this country.
Sure.
A lot of Kuwaitis did not. They left, and they just were waiting to come back and capitalize on opportunity. No problem. The problem I have is that my husband, was a military officer. He served his 1 year after he came back from his PhD, like people used to have to do.
Tajneed.
He volunteered.
Yeah.
Yes, he volunteered to go back. All right, put his life on the line, and then every single year there is no memorial, there is no parade, there's nothing in the country like what we have in the States where you honor people who have sacrificed and put their life on the line for the country. So for all of those years, because they said it was for the POWs,
Yes.
I don't think that
This
is
what I want.
legitimate.
Let me start with there.
That's not legitimate.
That's what mostly happens every year, if I'm not mistaken, for the POWs and for those who passed away during the war.
Okay, but the U.S. has hundreds of POWs that it doesn't mean you don't honor people who are still alive and who sacrificed. The problem I have is this, and I'll tell you why. You have got a whole generation of people, 50% of the population in Kuwait is under 18, who did not live through the war,
Sure.
who don't understand what we almost lost, that don't have any recollection or any knowledge of what this country went through. And there's a problem of not acknowledging that and not making a bigger deal about the fact that, that we've went through a really severely stressful financial, emotional, economic crisis.
Yeah.
And that half of the population knows nothing about it. So you haven't learned any lessons from that.
So your answer is we didn't really learn from that
I
obstacle.
don't think we learned from it because people who have lived through it, we remember.
I remember every minute.
I remember.
I remember every minute.
But it's almost like there's this like dichotomy, like people who live through it, and then it's like you skip a generation and no one knows anything about it.
Unfortunately. There's a very interesting story about Al-Umrah. You went to Al-Umrah?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience, actually.
Okay, but you're Christian, right?
No, I'm a Muslim.
Oh, you're a Muslim? I had no idea. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
So when did you become Muslim?
Oh, I don't know. When do you become Muslim is when you read about it and you start realizing that the religion...
for how long have you been a Muslim? Like 10 years, 20 years?
I guess maybe 20, 30 years.
20
yeah.
years.
I think
But what made you become Muslim?
I think that living over here and seeing the way people treat each other with the kindness and the politeness and the consideration.
Generosity.
Yeah, the generosity, the hospitality. Although I think a lot
No
of it has...
family reunions.
No, I think a lot
You know
of
what I mean?
I think a lot of the things that I like about this culture have their roots in Islam.
Okay.
But I also think it has it's rooted in the Gulf Arab interpretation of Islam, because I did live in Tunisia and it was a very different experience.
It is way different.
It is very different. And so I always felt that, first of all, I'm a scientist, so the way I see God is through science. So I'm not a person who is ritualistic. I don't, I read a lot, I compare a lot, I look at the origins of religion in general, because all humans have religion.
But you do believe now, since, I mean, whether a Muslim or Christian, you
Or
do
Jewish
believe,
or Buddhist or anything else.
Yes, you do believe, I don't know about Buddhists, but like I know most of religions believe in a divine power.
Yes.
There is a creator up there called God, Allah, call it whatever you want to call it.
Right.
A divine power behind all of this.
Right.
The science you see, the love, the hate.
The science to me is justification of it.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. So, but you do believe that Allah exists, right?
Of course.
Okay.
I don't think you can understand physics or chemistry or biology and not know that that at a very infinitesimal level, as well as on a very giant level, like a universal level, that there's some unifying harmony, there's some power and force that creates things that move in a direction towards harmony and love and cohesion, you know?
Okay, so the existence of God, when we believe that God exists, there is moments, I'll call them the defining moments, where we truly believe that God exists. And unfortunately, these moments are mostly filled with sorrow, trouble, problems, where we seek salvation, where we seek help from a divine power. When we feel like there's no help from anybody else and I need a miracle.
Yep.
These are the moments that I believe that we all human beings started to connect. Can you put that in words when you went to Umrah? Did you feel that way? Did you feel the presence of God?
Oh, yeah. So when I went to Umrah in the beginning, it was, I didn't feel that. I was in the very first few days, or the first day, I felt as though people were going through the motion, and I was surrounded by people who just seemed to be kind of like, okay, ticking off the box. Okay, I went around 7 times. Okay, and it was like, I'm like, where is, and there were, you're with people, and people are shoving and pushing and rushing, and everyone's in their own little thing. And I felt that at the moment because the woman I went with, she took me to the Hatam, the semicircle right outside the part of the Kaaba. And she said, and they had the kiswa up.
Yes.
So the stones were, and she goes, go and touch that and say a prayer and ask God for whatever you want. And I thought, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever, because I don't think of asking God for things.
Yeah, I believe, in my words, I believe at that moment, Stacey Alghawas were more like a little kid believing in God. Because when I ask kids right now, oh, do you believe in God? Oh, yes, God is up there. I know. He answers my prayers. He does that. But deep inside, a kid does not understand what really that means until something happens that proven that God exists.
So for me, I know God exists. I didn't have to have anything prove it because, like I said, as a scientist, I know God exists. I never had a doubt. But it's always kind of more of a cerebral. It's a cerebral thing. So the emotional connection came when I went to the site of the Kaaba, and I tried to block out what was going on around me, and there were people who were sobbing with deep sorrow, and people who were really, really emotionally distraught. And at that moment, I said, thank you, God, for giving me such a great life and for all of my blessings and for not having those feelings of these people around me. And just, I felt like such an overwhelming sense of love and appreciation and recognition of how blessed I am. And then I asked God for forgiveness. I said, please forgive me if I've hurt somebody or if there's something I've done that has created this feeling in other people, you know?
Yeah.
And I asked for forgiveness, and I just felt this great wave of relief, you know? And I think that is when I connected at that moment.
Okay. Stacey Alghawas is a teacher, a scientist, an architect, an artist, all of that, because I know you personally. A writer. Stacey Alghawas, the mother.
Yes, the mother.
The wife of, as you said, Habibi Abu Saad.
Yeah, yeah.
In your book. Mm-hmm. So, who is that woman inside the house?
Inside the house?
Yeah, the mother.
I think I'm the Minister of Interior.
Really?
Absolutely.
You mentioned that in your book, by the way.
Absolutely.
The Minister of Interior.
No, I'm by nature, I like organizing and running things.
Yeah, I worked with you.
Yeah, I do. I enjoy projects. I enjoy like I just had a Christmas party for 30 of my closest friends. It was really fun. And I do like a big Thanksgiving dinner. I love gatherings. I love doing things for the family. I always have a project. I'm always creating some kind of thing around the house and getting my husband up and agitated.
I know you are a very I can call you an extrovert person.
Yes.
Is he like you or
no? No, we're opposites.
Oh, okay. But I think opposite attracts, as they say.
They do.
Yeah.
I don't think I could live with someone like myself. We'd probably burn each other out. No, my husband is very supportive. He's very calm and low key and very very rooted and grounded.
Okay.
And it's great because I always know that I have a sounding board, and if I need something, he's always there too. He never stands in the way. He never says, "No, you can't do that." "Oh, I don't like that," or "That wouldn't look good." He's so confident in himself that he doesn't have to worry about me. And so
I'm pretty sure. So life have taken you to places. I know that you went to Africa because of your husband's job. He was like a sort of a diplomat, so you've been to places here and there. Kenya, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Was it Kenya?
I didn't go to Kenya. I've been to Rwanda and Cape Verde.
Yeah,
and
so you've
I
been
lived in
around.
Tunisia for 2 years.
But your roots always try to pull you back. And I know Stacey Alghawas have started her own business recently after retirement that is established back in San Diego or California.
Yeah, San Diego, California.
San Diego, California. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I have 2 brothers, and one of my brothers lives in San Diego, and he has a chemical company, and he has a CBD, a cannabidiol company.
Yeah.
So that is the non-psychoactive part of cannabis, and it's really good for skin. It activates like 134 different genes in the skin, and it's really excellent for, especially for acne and different skin conditions. So we wanted to start a cosmetic company that had a high-quality cream that also had CBD in it, and so we started formulating. We have cosmetic chemists that do this because it's pretty complicated, formulations. And then we realized that if we wanted to have anything with CBD, that we were not able to have any bank that would allow us to deposit it because it's still unfortunately Schedule A or some ridiculous federal laws. So we said, okay, let's just work on the creams and the serums, and then when the time is right, we'll add the CBD. And so that's what we did. We spent 2 years formulating.
I do remember that. A few years ago, you were talking about it, going back and forth.
Yeah.
Trying to establish all of that.
So we did. We got a really good cosmetic chemist in San Diego, and everything's organic and basically green energy, and the extraction process for the active molecules, like the coenzyme Q and the vitamins and everything is all done with carbon dioxide, so you don't denature the molecules, so they actually are in the cream so that they actually penetrate the skin and activate different cellular processes. So we formulated those. We got everything organized. The name of the company is EZ, which is E with an accent aigu and then ZE. And everyone says easy, but it's EZ.
Yeah, that's what I did.
I know, everyone
easy.
does.
Yeah.
In fact, when we did our trademark, it was really hard to do it. We had to hire a trademark lawyer to go through and look at all the different names. And it was like easy. And I'm like, no, it's not easy. It's EZ, but you can't have an accent mark when you trademark. So never mind.
As is an area right?
Ez is an ancient village on a hilltop that's in the south of France near Nice. So it's it's right above Monaco, actually. Okay. And it was founded by the Phoenicians, and it's a French iteration of Isis. Okay. So the goddess Isis, which of course is from ancient Egypt. So we thought, what a cool name. Well, in retrospect, it's really complicated to have a French name in a non-French speaking country with an accent that doesn't translate.
It does have a sound to it. Like I like it. It's easy.
Yeah. And so the reason, Southern California and the south of France, what we wanted to do is old world traditions of natural ingredients, of authenticity, of traditions, and the new world of San Diego, which is all medical research and biomedical. And so being from San Diego and having it formulated in San Diego, we thought, well, rather than have like Spanish words with like La Jolla is the J is a Y and the double L is a ya. I mean, we thought we'd go with the French.
Okay. I mean, that works.
It's a lot of fun, but then we got hit with COVID, so that was a problem.
Yeah.
It's
done now, right?
Oh yeah, it's done, and we're starting to market in Kuwait. Okay. I've got an EZ ambassador, Sarah Al Abdullah, who is taking over the marketing for Kuwait. We're selling it in India through a friend, my partner. She's Muriel Alfonso. She was in Kuwait. Now she's in between Goa and Canada. So we're selling it in Canada as well, mostly through word of mouth distribution. The cosmetic industry is extremely huge and very competitive.
I'm sure.
And
with all the big brands. And,
it's really,
it's crazy.
If we knew now what we didn't know then.
True.
But we've really enjoyed it. We've really enjoyed it.
True.
And I think that when I'm an entrepreneur, so I think when you're an entrepreneur, you look at what you can do, not what you can't do. And so it's been a learning process. I mean, we've really had to, learn how to get a website up, do our Instagram, all kinds of, never mind the formulation.
I hope you don't mind me asking.
No, go ahead.
How old are you?
Oh, I'm over 60.
I know you're over 60. And I know how old you are.
Okay.
But the only reason I say it is because I love how you thrive.
Oh, thank
I respect the fight inside of you.
Oh, thank you,
and
Sadiq.
like I said, a few years later, I'm your age. I would love to be another version of Stacey.
Stacey you are. You already are.
Stacey Alghawas. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to Alghawas show.
Thank you.
This is our first, hopefully not last, English شوية عربي show on Alghawas. But when you came across my mind, I was like, I think I have to have Stacey on the show. So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Mashkoor.
And I wish you all the best for your business.
Thank you.
And thank you for the free samples.
Oh, you're welcome.
شكرا Stacey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before we end this up, you want to say anything in Arabic? Like a whole sentence.
A whole sentence?
Yeah.
No, you have to put me in the kitchen, then I can.
Really? شنو أحسن شيء تطبخينه?
I don't know.
Like, what's the best thing you cook? Kuwaiti food.
I would say meshbous. مشبوس دياي.
مشبوس دياي؟
Yeah.
Okay. بعد عارفين تسوي بامية؟
Yeah.
لا عربي Stacey.
أنا أسوي بامية. في البيت.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I'll see you around, Stacey.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Sadiq.